Hello again, everyone. It's time for One-on-One. When we come back from the break, one of my favorite people in the whole world will be the guest. This is an update. He's been on the show before, but he's done so much since that, we had to add on to it a little bit. When we come back, Coach Cam Morvant, or Cam Morvant, depending on how you know him, is our guest on One-on-One.
One-on-One is brought to you by the Law Office of Waits and Downer.
Me and you've had this talk. You could have won a Senate race a while back. I saw the polls. You were pretty popular. I don't want to say as much popular as effective. People saw both, I think, in you. And me and you sat in my office and we talked about that old mountain many times. And I knew at that point that was hard for you because you're a hands-on person. Coaching, you're hands-on. You didn't just give everything to the assistants. You were hands-on as a head coach, hands-on as a DA. You started the domino effect. You did the Children's Advocacy Center. You were trying new things. You yourself went into the meeting with the dolly with all the boxes and the folders. And so you went, and I think you told your wife, I'm thinking of running for Senate. What was her first reaction?
I can't tell you the exact words she used right now. Dana was not really happy with that. And I'd gotten a little bit full of myself, and I'd been out of the office for about a year, and I thought about getting back because I did enjoy that. And that was another very good advice on her part.
Yeah.
But again, I can't tell you the exact words she used, but she made it very clear that was not a good idea, and she was right. And so and I'm glad. I mean, the political landscape has changed, and it's more. It's just different. You know, I have a different view of it, and so and what I like now, what I've realized is that I can now voice my views, and I don't have to worry about what people think about it.
Right.
I don't have to.
But you're the old-fashioned political servant. You're with a lot of values, with the rules, follow the rules. That's a different animal out there today. But then I wake up one day and I see you've accepted the magistrate in Grand Isle, but that's Cam Morvant.
Yeah. Well,
why don't you take that job?
I like it. I like it, and it's kind of. I just had my mother knee replacement, and Dana was driving me to therapy, and I got a call from the town attorney, Chip Cahill, and he said, "Congratulations." I said, "Really?" Man, I wasn't feeling good. I said, "What do you mean, congratulations?" He said, "Well, they voted you to be the judge last night." And I said, "Really? You kidding me?" He said, "No, I didn't even know." He says, "Are you going to do it?" I said, "I don't know. I got to talk to. I got somebody driving me right now. We got to have a conversation about it. I'll call you." So anyway, she says, "What involves it?" I said, "I'm just holding court. I think I want to do it. I like it." So I did it, and I've been doing it 4 years this month, and I enjoy doing it. And again, I get to help folks out. I get all kind of. It's nothing serious. I mean, but I got about 50 cases that are on our docket, and I don't see 50 a month, but they're on our docket. And you get to deal with some people, and you have to know people again. I mean, most of it is not all. Most of it, all of it is misdemeanors and minor crimes, minor things like driving the golf cart on the highway, or maybe, driving a little too fast on the beach, or drive whatever. And so. But you have to know people. I mean, I have to know how much to fine them, because I could tell them a $200 fine, and it's like telling somebody to write me out a check for $200,000. They don't have the money. Mm-hmm. So I got to figure out a different way to make the system work, and it's got to be some consequences, because I do believe in that also. Mm-hmm. And I believe that, I preached that in the schools when I was DA for all those years, when I used to go to the schools a lot. Choices and consequences. We all get to make choices in life. And there's consequences to all our choices. Good.
The domino effect.
Same thing.
Yeah.
Same thing. So I get to help people out, and I like that. I enjoy doing it. I got a great staff, and we get along good. I get along good with the police department. it's fun. I like doing
Yeah,
it.
but you've always been, there's a side of you, I'm going to say they're shy. There's a shy
Yeah.
side to you.
Oh, yeah.
And a lot of people wouldn't know that because when you walk in and you speak to people, they're looking at you and going, man, that's a confident guy. He's had a great career. He's done this, he's done that. But I always say the ones that are shy, that elevate, have the most courage because they have to get over their shyness to get where they are. How did you get over your shyness?
It goes back to you get anxiety about certain things, but at the end of the day, you do what you have to do. You do what you need to do. My cardiologist told me when we had that discussion about me leaving the office early, he says, you don't have to be the big dog in the room anymore. You can stand in the back of the room. And I like standing in the back of the room. I really do. I'm just being honest with you. I don't mind the back of the room. Sometimes the front of the room is not as comfortable as it appears. Mm-hmm. And so I don't have a problem with that because I have been in the front for so long. And so when I go places now, there's no timeline for me to stay there. I don't want to be the guest speaker. I really don't. Mm-hmm. I don't have to be. I've been asked to do that multiple times since I left, and I'm like, no, I kind of gave that up. So I don't know. It hasn't been a great change for me because I didn't. It wasn't my favorite part anyway, to be honest with you.
For all of your cases, including those with catastrophic significance, call Waits and Downer Law Firm.
Me and you have had this talk, and I think I've told you this before, how I felt. Your legacy is so intact because you got out at the right time. If you keep going on and on and on, and there's a younger generation that comes up and they dying to get these positions, mm-hmm. and all of a sudden they swarming like bees, and somebody gets beat, it does sort of damage a legacy. But you brought people in and nurtured them and taught them how to do the right thing. Then they named the advocacy center after you last week. Then you're asked to be the magistrate at Grand Isle. You win the Edie White Alumnus of the Year award. All those things don't happen to somebody that has been pushed on the side of the road. They feel like you had a purpose in life because you were smart and you knew when to get in and when to get out of some things.
There's some truth in that because I was one of the ones wanting to get in years ago. Mm-hmm. Okay, so yeah, there is some truth with that, and sometimes people do overstay their welcome. I'll put it bluntly, they do. They just overstay their welcome. It's kind of get people at your house and they don't want to leave. Okay, what I do, I tell them to leave now. I mean, I can just do that. I don't flip the lights. I just tell them it's time for y'all to go. But you have people that do that because you always, and that's good because you always have young people that want to take your place. And obviously, I don't think there's anything wrong with that, to be honest mm-hmm. with you. And it becomes a disconnect. I don't care what people say. It becomes a disconnect. I used to go to Edie White a lot, and I still do for a couple of things when they ask me, but it becomes a disconnect after a while. And it's just where life is. I mean, younger people look at people my age a little differently than when I was that age looking at someone my age. They just do. And I accept that. It doesn't offend me at all. In fact, I kind of relate to it in a way because when I was 17 and I had some old dude trying to tell me something, I don't know if I was sitting there listening like I should have anyway. So I relate to it. I get it.
You might not have been listening, but there was a different form of respect.
Yeah, that's true.
And we didn't have cell phones growing up.
No.
And everybody had to be together, and at the dinner table, everybody had to talk.
Yeah.
It's different now.
Yes. And I look back and you talk about people influenced you. I mean, obviously, Bobby and Elaine Morvant influenced me tremendously.
Yeah.
I mean, they did. Yeah. My mom lived to 94. My dad died 31 years ago now, 32 years ago. But I had the pleasure of being able to practice law with him before he died. And he was one of the kind that we did insurance defense work. And he was the kind, if you settle a case with him for $1,000 or $1 million, and he said, Martin, you'll have the check in 30 days. You didn't have to write him a letter and say, dear Bobby, this will confirm. We had a conversation at 9:30 a.m. today, and you didn't have to do all of that. I mean, your check was coming to you in 30 days. And if he gave you his word, that was the end of it. And that's the way that they did it in those days. It was a different practice of the law, a different lot of things. And, my mother running around raising 9 kids, 6 boys, 3 girls. I mean, it was, oh Lord, and look, I can still remember at lunch, nobody ever said a word if 3 or 4 of us brought friends over for lunch. So you not only got all us in the kitchen, now you got 3 or 4 friends in the kitchen that come over there to eat something, and nobody said, Ma, can I bring somebody over to eat? You just brought them over. And
that was the
put them at
community.
table.
The moms were really the neighborhood.
Yeah, good people.
You mentioned doing your radio show, and you were doing it in the right spot. And as DA, you were having to talk to city proper of Thibodaux and to the bayous.
Absolutely. Completely different cultures.
Oh, it's so different. So I always thought, how is he juggling that? Because when I see our ratings, one of our biggest rating groups are the bayous of Lafourche.
Is that right? Okay.
And whenever I did contracts in Lafourche, handshake. Don't hand them a piece of paper. I'm giving you my word. This is what we agreed on.
Yeah.
Other people, nope, we got to sign.
Yeah.
So 2 different things. You had to juggle personalities.
Well, absolutely. Our parish is so multicultural from the northern to the southern and in between. You have Thibodaux, and you go into the St. Charles area, Lockport, Raceland, Lockport, and all that area, Matthews. You get into La Rose and cut off and Gallian and go to Meta and Gaines and Bayou Blue in between, and the 6th Ward area, Chag Bay, Choctaw, and all that area. They're different folks. They got different dialects. They think differently. At the end of the day, they're still all Lafourche people, because I've said also multiple times, we have this invisible line. We have this invisible line that separates Lafourche and Terrebonne. But at the end of the day, the folks in southern Terrebonne are very similar to the folks in southern Lafourche Parish. And the same thing here in Houma and Thibodaux. They're very similar people. We just have this line that is an invisible line that delineates a boundary line. And so I don't know. I've always kind of looked at it. You do have to be somewhat like a chameleon. What I mean by that is you do change up your conversation a bit. But at the end of the day, they're still all regular folks. They really are at the end of the day.
For all of your cases, including those with catastrophic significance, call Waits and Downer Law Firm.
I sort of grew up with that, going to Vanderbilt. When I was born in Thibodaux, all my cousins went to E.D. White. My mama went to Mount Carmel. So whenever the discussion or the rivalry with E.D. White would come up at Vanderbilt, and we want to beat him. I don't know if I took it as personal because I got cousins on the other side.
Yeah.
And I'm sitting there going, no, I can't sit there and talk bad about E.D. White. That's my cousins over there. But so there's a lot of interaction between E.D. White and Vanderbilt. But when you get to college and you meet the guys that you were playing against, you go, it's a pretty good guy.
Just like me.
Yeah.
They just like me. Yeah, true. I mean, it was competitive. Look, when I was at Vanderbilt, I wanted to beat E.D. White. You know that.
Oh, yeah.
You know that very well. And when I was at E.D. White, I wanted to beat Vanderbilt.
Right.
Very bad.
Right.
Okay, when I was there for 1 year with
wherever you are, you got to play for whoever you are.
So it's nothing. It's never anything. It goes back to it's never anything personal. I mean, even that is business. It was never personal. And you're right. You meet those people after, and you're like, hey, they're not bad people. Well, no, they're not.
But y'all learn from Coach Zush, who would play these tricks about how he didn't like coaches at Vanderbilt. And I'll never forget one of the best sales jobs you ever did was you told us how you hated some coaches at E.D. White, and we started hating them. And a whole week was dedicated to, we got to beat the guys that Coach hates. And then A few weeks later, we see y'all hanging out together.
Yeah.
That's one of your better sales.
Yeah.
That was better than the Xerox
Yeah.
machine.
Yeah.
Pat Zush had to be one of the greatest teachers around.
Pat Zush never grew up, I guess is the best way to describe him.
Yeah.
He died at 90-something years old. He was
Yeah.
still a boy. I
Yeah.
mean, he really never grew up.
He was.
He was brilliant when it came to coaching football. Because with Pat, and I learned some of that. I just got a scrapings off of Pat. I was never that good, never. But Pat knew where to put people on the field, and he knew what your ability was, and he knew how to kind of get into your head a little bit. And he never screamed at you, never heard him curse, never heard him scream, and he just had a different demeanor with him. But he just was a phenomenal football coach because he never grew up. He was a kid at heart. He would play talk about jokes. I mean, he would do something just all the time. It was always something he was doing to the whole team or to the managers or to the other coaches or somebody. He just enjoyed life. He was a good guy.
I'm going to tell you a story, and you can probably go, kind of remember that. But my senior year in track, you bet me if I broke the high jump record, you would
remember
take me to get a steak.
I did. I remember that.
Now, put yourself in my shoes. I'm growing up. We got 6 in my family. And not that my mom and dad couldn't afford some things, but we didn't have steak a lot at the Falls house. I mean, we had 6 kids. We had Salisbury steak.
We did too. I remember that.
Yeah, so when you said, I'll take you to get a steak if you break the high jump record. Well, a week later, we in Thibodeau at the big meet, 3016, and I break the high jump record. And I never brought up the steak to you. A couple of days later, you said, on Thursday, we're going to get the steak. We went to Bonanza.
I remember that.
T-bone steak, corn on the cob,
Yeah.
Pepsi Cola, piece of sliced cake to go with it. I remember the price, $6.99.
I don't remember that, but
I
I
remember
remember
the price entrenched in my brain. And I'm going, that told me a lot about you. Fast forward. Vanderbilt's girls just won state in basketball. I treated them to a steak. I've had a tradition. I know I've missed a few because I don't know if the coaches ever came where I made the bet personally, but I still have this running bet with certain people that if you win state or whatever, I bet the person who breaks the high jump record at Vanderbilt a steak. And I'm dying to buy the steak.
Yeah.
But that all comes from you.
That's funny how you will remember things.
Yeah.
Small, because it was a big thing, but it is a big scheme of things, and all the water that's gone into the bridge since then, it's not. But that's good you remember that. But I remember it. I did.
Yeah.
I remember telling you. I remember going to dinner with you.
Yeah.
I remember that.
That was a
long
big
time.
deal for me.
That was a long time ago, Morton.
$6.99. Can you find a steak for $6.99 today? It would be $26.99.
No, you're right.
For all of your cases, including those with catastrophic significance, call Waits and Downer Law Firm. This one-on-one program has been brought to you by the law offices of Waits and Downer.
Where sugar cane is grown, so much to see on HTV. Stick with us 'cause we're your home.